What is up, everybody? It's Mark from 403 Fauna. We're waiting on Jason to join us. Hopefully he does. So this is the Fauna topic where every week, hopefully, sometimes we skip a week here and there, we just talk about relevant subjects on the ball python and reptile industry. And I always struggle with coming up with topics for the week, and I usually rely on YouTube videos to help me out with that. Canova, Miguel, and Miguel put out a video this week that I thought we'd touch on, and it was about breeding a female at 900 grams. Now, shout out to Will. Will's hella heat. He mentions that this was after she had already laid 8 eggs, but I believe that was a previous video where he showed that the female had follicles at 900 grams, and he decided to breed her, and looks like she gained some weight, laid those eggs, and got back to the original weight that she was at. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about just breeding in general. And speak of the devil, here's Jason. What's up, Jason? Here on the road here.
What's up, everybody? This is Jason Radass Designs on location in Burbank, California at the well-known Burbank Sports Cards.
Yo, that's what's up. You selling those cards you have, or what?
Yeah, I sold some cards. Some I just couldn't let go of. Like, people can hate on Baker Mayfield as a quarterback all they want, but those commercials, like, they made me laugh, and he's shown potential at times. And I'm not giving up on Baker Mayfield. I want to see more commercials with his wife in the future. I think they're pretty funny. So,
well, let us know. What did you sell? How much you make?
Hold on a second, Mark.
Okay. Well, he'll come back, but Jason, I know he's a card collector, and I'm a card collector as well. Actually, I sold some big cards on eBay this past week. I made $2,000 just on cards in 2 days on eBay. That's just crazy. It's making me like rethink, what should I focus on? I mean, ball pythons, I will love ball pythons forever, and they'll always be a part of me, and selling and breeding ball pythons, they will never go away. But I'm thinking of thrifting and cards and stuff like that, as a little side hustle, because it's tough out there, man. I've got a mortgage. I've got gas in California is crazy. So we've got to come up with alternative ways to come up with money. And I think thrifting, ball pythons, cards, stuff like that, it's pretty good as long as you've got the time for it. And I'm kind of having trouble with the time because it's crazy. I've got a new relationship and everything. So just managing my time is an issue. And I'm thinking I'm going to have to reduce my collection a little bit to help with that. Okay. Jason's back with us. There he is.
Sorry about that. I couldn't figure out on the go how to Bluetooth turn off Don Henley and the Eagles.
Okay. I was wondering, because I'm big into cards too. What'd you sell and what'd you make?
I sold a Kobe Bryant rookie card that was like a flare. So they're real shiny. Back in the day, they were really nice cards. They're really thick coated and glossy, but then over time they stick together and stuff. So that one was graded on BGS 9, and they gave me, I don't know, 100 and something for it. And then they gave me, for the one card I actually got a decent amount of money for, was a Gardner Minshew, and I like him with the mustache and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He, I downtown of his.
Oh wow, okay.
It was really shiny and stuff, but it was just raw. It was in great shape, but it was just raw, and they gave me 210 for that, and I picked that up for I don't know, $60 off of eBay a couple of years ago or whatever. So that was pretty cool. A lot of the other stuff was kind of nickel and dimed, for instance, here's a Scottie Pippen. Tag on it. Yeah, here's a Scottie Pippen 87, 80, what is it, 86, 87 Fleer. It's raw, but it's in great shape. The centering is good. It has little like bubble print error marks on it that this set had a lot of, and they don't always have that. It has a bit of that, but otherwise the card is like mint. And Scottie Pippen was awesome, and they want to give me like $12 for that. Where if I graded it with like PSA or SGC, I'd probably get a 9, and it would be worth like, I don't know, $100 or something. So I'll hold on to Scottie Pippen. Definitely underrated, considering like Jordan wouldn't have won all those championships without. And Dylan Brooks, I have a couple Dylan Brooks cards. Not everybody likes him. He punched LeBron James in lower region a couple times, so I'm a fan of that, and I just couldn't. I couldn't sell that. And look at this, Mark. They were going to give me $15 for a 10 CSG Baker Mayfield Donruss rookie. $15. Like, you know how hard it is to get a 10 from CSG when they started? So some things you have to, it's like GameStop. You're going to go sell some video games, like you're not going to get very good value. So there was some stuff I just couldn't sell. It would have been dumb and held on to, and I'm happy I got $402.
Very nice.
Yeah. I could have brought better stuff, but I didn't really want to. So we can talk cards another time. Everyone's tuning in for snakes, and where we're headed to right now is prehistoric pets in, what is that, Fountain Valley, like Anaheim essentially. So we're headed there if we make it. I don't know how close we are from here to there, but if we make it by the end of the show, then we can do maybe a little tour. They had let Jay Brewer know I was interested in having him on the show today and doing a little thing at their shop. And he was really busy, but he has that knowledge, and if he wants to make it work in that time frame, then cool. It's kind of a last minute thing. That's where we're headed, and I'll just do the show on the drive there.
Okay, LA traffic's crazy, so be careful out there.
Oh my God, Mark! The traffic going the other way that we were driving by was just like a constant flood of, like, it looked like a river of cars that was just moving real slowly with little ripples in it. It was for like 30 miles on the 5 and
on the 15
and the 134.
134, yeah.
And the 15, like, yeah. I guess it's a holiday weekend, and
3-day weekend.
Yeah, so I didn't know that. You have a 3-day weekend, right?
Yeah, we get Monday off, so super excited about that. Hey, tell us about some ball pythons you got for sale.
Me? I got ball pythons for sale, do I? I guess I do. I was just trying to hustle up some money, so I talked to a couple people about those double het ultramale sunset babies, just trying to like move a female or a pair so I could hustle some money for this weekend. And I was gonna post one in an auction, but I didn't get around to it by this time today. So I just talked to private sales, and then I was considering going to East Bay Vivarium, which is in Berkeley, California. As we go to Northern California on a little road trip tonight, I thought we could show up there tomorrow morning, and they're the longest privately owned pet store in America. And I used to sell them a lot of stuff back in the day, chameleons, offspring, geckos, and different things. And I had some ball pythons I was considering taking them, but the owners aren't at the store today, and I'll just have to try to get a hold of them beforehand. But I thought I would bring a couple extra snakes that would be less mouths to feed and won't really make money on. But one was like an adult hypo female that's never been proven. Just never laid eggs. I think she's like 7 years old now. She's pretty big. She's pretty. And I brought an adult female coastal king snake that's been brumated today with me. And you know what, Mark? I put it in a snake bag in the car, and this is now the snake bag. As you can see, it has no snake in it.
The car belongs to the snake now.
So she's got, I don't know, can you guys see her under the seat?
Oh man.
So she's in the car under the seat, and I have heated seats as an option. Should I turn that on a little bit? There we go, 3 clicks. And then I figured they would buy her from me, and I just didn't feel like getting a male, and I'm cutting back on stuff. And then I brought a couple of my rosy boa offspring, and I don't know if you guys can see them in there.
Yeah.
And I just thought they probably won't offer me a price that I'll like, but I thought I'll bring them and show them that I got stuff. And we'll see. I've talked to some other people too. They might just go back to home with us. And I might bring some to a couple of these two to Northern California also, and go to some other places. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm just kind of playing it by ear. I'm just trying to like hustle some extra money today for traveling. You know, you always need like emergency expenses, and like, what if your like tire blows out, and you mess up your rim? Oh my God, now what do we do? So I don't have a credit card with the emergency fund on it right now, so I'm just hustling that in cash right now. So if anybody out there in Reptile Land wants a good deal on some snake ship to them next week, then you can feel free to hit me up on Instagram, and we'll talk. I'm likely to have something that you'll like and a really good deal. And if not, I'll point you in the direction to where I think you will get a good deal.
Yeah. And honestly, Jason, he'll hook you up. So hit him up if you want that double head
I
sunset.
think the last person I sent snakes to, I gave them like 2 free snakes, like an adult female and something. I don't know, it was a little while ago. But yeah, it's a win-win for everyone. I'm just cutting some mouths to feed, and because now when we get all these babies, right, this time of year, you'll see everyone posting on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, that they're hatching stuff out, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, in a few weeks, you're focusing on feeding young ball pythons basically as much as they'll eat. I've rarely ever in my whole time in the reptile industry and being a herpiculturist, like ever like power fed stuff. Sometimes I guess, but not usually. It's not it's better to be in the middle of slow growing something and power feeding, right in the middle. Make them really happy. And babies though, baby pythons, baby king snakes, like they need more food more often, and so you can sometimes feed baby ball pythons once they get eaten like every 3, 4, 5 days for a good long while. And so then all of a sudden, if you're not like, I'm not breeding rodents right now, then all of a sudden you're trying to like work deals and trade with like pet stores, and like one of my rodent breeder friends, he's gonna trade me some feeders for the next couple times that I feed everything, just for like stuff that I have, like equipment and like tubs and lab bins, different things I have extra, like tons of mealworms and black soldier fly larvae and whatnot. So that'll help, but you go to buy a pinky mouse at a pet store nowadays, and it adds up quick.
Yeah, crazy.
So yeah, that's I'm gonna have to make an adjustment of getting rid of some things and cutting maybe a project and focusing on just feeding all the babies that I have right now, basically.
I was just thinking about the early days when I got back into ball pythons and how easy it was to feed them. Oh, I just have 1.2 pair of rats and they're going to feed my entire collection. And I kind of miss those days. And, I'm really thinking about just lowering the number of my collection and just really focusing on those projects that I want to work on. But yeah. Definitely.
It's tough because we all want to do so many things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people have a 6-car garage and a big property and they can collect different cars. Some people just want one nice, reliable car. The commuter just has one parking spot in their driveway. So, you have to be realistic, but you also have to have fun too. Sometimes we get sucked into these different projects and more. You should just really, truly work with what you love. And as long as you're doing that, it'll go pretty well for you.
Well, I think you already showed us the rat ass snake of the week.
Well, no, it's under the seat. It's under my power seat, Mark. I brought this snake. She's pretty. I don't think I've ever shown her before. I bought her from someone that does the show circuits in Florida, and they had a lot of king snakes. We bred them and whatnot. And this one in particular, king snake last year, was the last one that they had left from going to this one last show. And for some reason, it was just the last one, and people looked at her but never bought her. And she's like, yeah, this snake is like my favorite of all my king snakes, but I don't know why it didn't sell, but this is the last one I have. I had my eye on it in North Market, and then I bought her, and so I've had her, and I brewmated her, and I just didn't get around to getting a male. The person, I was going to get a lavender albino male king snake ready to breed from someone local to me, and then they sold it to someone else on the North Market. And then they're like, well, I got another one, and I was like, yeah.
Well, I'm going to take over your spot this week because I brought a snake into my classes. So I'm going to share a 403 fauna snake of the week. Let me put myself here.
Awesome. Let's see what you got.
Okay, so audience, guess what this is? Obviously, we see those spots. It's a banana. And what morph increases the spots of bananas? It's also in there. You can see the pattern on the side.
I so want to say
and
that banana is ready for banana bread. You put that in a little loaf pan, 3-pound little loaf pan, some walnuts on top.
There's also a recessive in here, which at this age is kind of hard to tell.
Yeah.
You will notice some of the striping on the head is not very yellow in color, as a hint. Macomorph says banana black pastel. That's correct.
Nice. Good job. That's
now
pretty.
This boy I bought from, name's slipping my mind right now, but he had a slow start, didn't eat for maybe the first 2 years, once a month, and I didn't think he was ever going to breed, but he's super chill. The kids loved him. And this is kind of the mindset I need to get out of, because I don't plan, well, I might breed that male, but I've got several snakes in my collection that I'm saying, but he'll do great or she'll do great 2 years from now when I have this. And then, they're just sitting there having to be fed every week or two. And I may never get to them in my plans. So that's the problem I'm dealing with as far as numbers and trying to reduce my collection. So this 3-day weekend, I'm going to just focus on putting some snakes for sale on Morph Market, because I've got a ton of babies coming this season and I need to make some room. And the food issue is big, and because food is expensive. I bought some hopper mice from the local pet store the other day, and they were, I think, $3.50 each or $4, which before they were just $1.50 or so. So prices are going crazy. That's my free fauna snake of the week.
He's very pretty banana.
Oh, the recessive was VPI Xanthic, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Okay, let's get to our question of the week here. And this is going to kind of lead into our subject of the week. Is there a rule of thumb for breeding females, first-time females? So question of the week here, and anybody who gets this correct will get a shout out next week and be entered into our drawing for a free snake. So what's the rule of thumb for breeding first-time female ball pythons? A, 1,200 grams, 2 years old. B, 1,500 grams at 3 years. C, 1,800 grams, any age, doesn't matter, as long as they hit that size. Or D, if they got follicles, breed them. Doesn't matter how small or big they are. So we'll give our audience a chance to figure it out. Hey, what was the smallest female that you bred?
Me? As far as like pairing, I've paired snakes that were like 1,200 plus grams. The banana, that's one of my favorite snakes that I have. She was my best eater, and I started pairing her at 1,400, and I believe it was 30 grams. And she never did produce for me. She was working on it, and she stopped being a good eater. She has eaten since, but like very sparingly. And I feel like really there's a time frame perhaps with ball pythons where you get them at the right age where we've seen them reliably handle producing viable eggs. And that's the rule of thumb that I've always like kind of felt it was is 1,600 grams. But then you'll hear some people say that, hey, if like a snake is 1,100 grams and she's producing follicles and she looks like she's ready to pair and she's acting like it and she's tail wagging and all this, you know, that's like the kind of the minimum. And I disagree with that to an extent. I think it depends on age, and it could be some of the family tree. Maybe a lot of its mothers had bred at young ages or smaller sizes. I've always felt like 1,600 was a rule that I was comfortable with, but it really depends, and snakes will breed when they're ready. And I think ball pythons, I've heard stories of people getting eggs from females that were like 3 years old and like 1,000 grams thereabout, like in that 1,000 gram wall. There have been like reports of strange things like that happen, or like around that size, they'll start developing and they get heavier, but then after they lay, they're back down to like 1,000 or less grams. Like that's doable and can work. But I think you're gonna more likely when you breed anything, any kind of snake, any kind of gecko, anything that lays eggs at a younger or smaller size than what is recommended and what is typical, you have a much higher chance of having some sort of issue. And what we mostly see with ball pythons is they just don't take, or they reabsorb, or things are a little bit abnormal and we wonder why. I think it's best just to breed them when they're a pretty good size. And I think that's smarter. I've bred in the past, in years past, like geckos of various types, common ones, rare ones, that were like a little bit shy of being ready to breed. And they'll produce fertile eggs and they'll produce healthy offspring, but you're really compromising their long-term health by pushing boundaries, in my opinion. Sometimes when money is involved or passionate projects are involved, people push it a little bit. And then on the other hand, there's like people who breed certain snakes, certain, let's just in this case ball pythons, that like are plenty old enough, 4 or 5 years old, plenty of size, real healthy, decent temperament, everything, like they're good eaters, and they just don't produce. When a whole bunch of snakes all around them in a rack or in a room are producing, and sometimes, as as we know, ball pythons can be finicky. They can be picky, and sometimes things go outside of what um, is expected.
Okay, so Wolfhawk Wild Things was the first to come up with the answer B, which is the standard textbook rule of thumb. And I remember when I got into breeding ball pythons in the 2000s, the rule of thumb back then was at least 1,200 grams. And I bred at 1,200 grams back then. I still breed at 1,200 grams. And like you mentioned, like these Morphs mentions in the comments, sometimes they'll go, sometimes they won't. And this is leading into Miguel's snake, which we'll talk about soon. But the rule of thumb can change between individual breeder. I don't have an ultrasound, so I'm not going to try to breed 900-gram females. But if I did and I saw follicles, maybe I would try it. But I go at least 1,200 grams. Now, I've got a few guiding questions leading up to discussing about Miguel's ball python. Let's go through them. You may have answered some of this when you answered what was the youngest you bred, but here's the first guiding question. How many years have you bred ball pythons, Jason?
Just pairing them a couple years. I tried, and last year I got some eggs in spring, like in May, but it didn't work out for me, and I wasn't able to finally get fertile eggs in an incubator until September of last year, and then I finally hatched my first ever ball python clutch in November of last year.
So now you've only bred for a couple years, but you've been a reptile keeper for much longer. Me as well. I've bred for coming back 4 years and then 2 years previous to that. I just wanted to establish that you and me aren't like, we don't have decades of breeding under our belts, ball pythons, that is. And, obviously Miguel has more years than us. And this is
He's done quite well at it.
what we're saying here is, it's not set in stone. It's just our experiences as far as breeding. So let's move on to our next guiding question here. Is there a rule of thumb you follow when breeding first-time female ball pythons?
Just that I've noticed it's best that if they're eating really good and everything is just dialed in with them, and they seem, when you first introduce a male, to tail wag and do things that are, it seems very compatible. That those are better signs to go with. I think the female ball python that you start pairing should be a good eater and have good extra healthy weight on her. Good muscle tone really is the most important thing. And some people will say that they will pair ball python females that they've essentially like power raised and got to really big size because of maybe when they were hatched and different like peak feeding times of the year, and then like in a year and a half they'll be what is considered like an okay or responsible size and weight to pair and to try to breed. And like, I don't know, like there's all sorts of animals in the wild that will surprise you with how fast that they can, turn around a life cycle and be ready to breed from the time that they were born. It's sometimes surprising and amazing. A ball python to be paired at 18 months of age, and then to lay a clutch of 3, 4, 5 eggs is is um, is really about what I consider the limit of like age wise. Like that's like kind of almost surprising, but people have done it. Lots of people have done it, and lots of people long term over the decades have noticed that whatever species of egg laying snake that it is, that if you just breed them and breed them and breed them a lot at a young age and try to get like a lot of offspring from them year after year, they will most likely, almost assuredly, not live as long and not have as much calcium stored. I would think if you really push it. But that's just my opinion, and I feel like if your ball python is 1,600 to 2,000 grams, and she's 2.5 to 3 years old, and she seems receptive, you have a pretty good chance of successfully pairing them. A lot of people report, mark like 50%, like gestation and taking of the breeding and it leading to offspring, or at least like eggs. And some people have it a little bit more down, and it's like 60, 70, 80% catch rate, or success rate overall from all the females that they pair. So some people just kind of have it dialed in, and some people have fluctuations. They get different equipment. They move to another location in the middle of a breeding season. Things like that always affect stuff too, throw stuff off. But that's sort of my rule of thumb. Is, I like 1,600 grams and 2+ years old. Ideally 2.5, a little bit better in my opinion. But that's just from my limited, success so far, and from everything that I've researched over the years and heard from other breeders. I take all of that in and form that opinion on my own.
Excellent. I totally agree with you. Big thing is them eating really well prior to the season. They put on that weight. I want to share with you a story of a ball python that gave me a surprise clutch. And so my pastel blade double het desert ghost clown, I bought her during the pandemic when prices were super crazy. I think I paid $1,800 for her. It's crazy. You could get them for like $100 now. But so when I was starting breeding, I wanted to get those girls up to size as fast as possible. So I'm just pounding them left and right with the food. And she got up to 1,200 grams in under 2 years. And I decided to breed her. I put the male in with her and they locked, but she stopped eating at that point. And I think that the young females, they'll tell you, if you don't have the ultrasound, look at the signals that they give you. And one of them is, do they stop eating? Do they continue eating? So she stopped eating. I introduced the male a couple more times. There was locks, but since she wasn't eating, I decided to just shut her down for the year. And she didn't give me a clutch. And the next season comes along. She wasn't the most consistent eater, but she did get a few meals in her. She got over 1,500 grams, and I introduced the male to her again, same male, and there was 3 locks I got, but she shut down eating again during the breeding season. So I figured, oh, here we go again. I'm just going to shut her down and not worry about it. So I stopped breeding her, and she still didn't eat. I think she took 1 rat the entire breeding season. And I go to feed her last week, and bam, she's laying on some eggs. I'm like, what the hell? And when I got to the egg, she laid them right on the heat tape. They were shriveled up pretty good, but I shined a light on them. Veins looked really good. So I'm sitting on some really crinkly eggs that I'm hoping make it. And the girl, obviously, the first season was not ready at 2 years of age, but now at 3, she did give me those eggs. But just a lesson learned that I need to, any female that I put males with, I need to be checking on them every day. I missed the ovulation, I missed everything. So huge mistake on my part. And but I do believe in breeding at a smaller size because they'll either go or they won't. And I think for my personal experience, my percentage of success on that is it's pretty low. Let's say about 25%. But if you do get those young females to go for you, it puts you ahead of the game. And we're going to get into Miguel's female right now. And let me share a picture with you guys.
And I did not, Mark, watch that video. Like normally that one, when you told me about it, would be something I'd be like super interested in of course watching, but I've been multitasking so much preparing for this trip and I didn't watch it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. And so he said he got eggs from a 900-gram girl. She started getting paired at 900 grams or what?
Yeah, let me share this story. So he did a previous video. Big credit to Miguel. He put it all out there, even though some people totally criticize him. And this female started at 900 grams. He noticed follicles on the girl, and he paired her. And this has been that was several months ago. And finally, he gave an update on her because she dropped a clutch of eggs, a huge clutch of 8 eggs out of this originally 900-gram female that he started.
That's pretty impressive.
Obviously, she did gain weight through the season to get those eggs to build, and then drop those 8 eggs, and then he measured the weight again afterwards, and she's back to 960 grams or something like that. So it's crazy to think about this 900-gram girl giving this huge clutch of eggs. They're not like the biggest eggs, but they were all strong, healthy eggs. And it just kind of made me think, these big breeders, it's all about getting ahead of the game. And by Miguel getting this young girl to breed for him, now he's ahead of the game and he's going to produce some world firsts out of this clutch. And, I don't have an ultrasound so I won't be doing that, but I'm sure it's going to inspire other people, especially newer breeders, to maybe look into that avenue. So what are your thoughts on this young female?
It's hard to believe, honestly. Like, I'm going to believe whatever he makes a video about, pretty much. Like, he's a good person and an honest person and shares a lot of his, knowledge and what he's gained in a relatively short time in the hobby, in the grand scheme of things. But he's done really well, and it's interesting to take note of this kind of stuff. It should go into journals and books and just be recorded as something pretty fascinating. Like that, I can't even believe it. She almost filled up a whole carton of eggs. Like that's wild. That's wild. I can't believe it. Usually a smaller female python will lay like 3 or 4 or 5 eggs when they're pushed. But 8 is, I can't believe she laid 8. Like, I'd like to know what her weight was at egg laying time.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would have been cool if he measured the eggs too, so we could get this difference between the two, but he didn't share that info. But yeah, just crazy. And would you consider breeding a girl that small?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think that's big enough, but sometimes there's so many other factors into it. Again, like maybe the female and grandmother of this snake just grow at a really nice rate and are very productive and fertile, and that plays a small role in it. But if these eggs are all fertile and or all of them except that one kick to the side maybe. And they hatch. That'll be pretty cool to put into the spectrum of like factoring in what is possible. I once paired a snake that was 1,200 grams, but nothing came of it. And right now, I didn't weigh her, but my hypo 66% rainbow, 66% cryptic female is really pretty and a snake that I like a lot. And she eats in really good little spurts. And she's just an overall really exceptional hypo example of a ball python. She's really pretty and easy to hold, and I like her a lot. I just have purposely not like fed her as much as some other snakes, and she should totally be ready to breed by now. Like age wise, she's like easily two and a half, but like she's not 1,600 grams. If I had to guess right now what she weighed off the top of my head, I would say about 1,250 to 1,300 or so grams. Like it wouldn't completely surprise me if I put her on the scale and it said 1,300, but it could be like 1,250. And I started pairing her with a desert ghost male that I have. And at first they weren't really doing anything, and then they started cuddling, and then they started locking up. So I will hope to get some offspring from them, and she's getting chunkier, and she's ready to eat a lot. So I have a feeling it's gonna work out. She's plenty old enough. She just doesn't have the packed on size and muscle. She's just healthy at a medium growth rate, and we'll see. I'll find out within the next few months, watching her, feeding her. But you know, again, the snake I wanted to breed probably almost more than any other snake I have, and did pair her multiple times, and she was like of size and age, just isn't creating eggs for me. So I just have to wait. She's 66% het monarch too, and with no monarch test, I kind of just wanted to get offspring and find out whether she's actually het or not, and I'll just have to wait. I stopped pairing her and I just started feeding her again, and I'll just have to wait until this upcoming breeding season. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. So me personally, I have no problem with Miguel doing this. It's more hard to him. He's a businessman and he's out to make money with his snakes. And I'm not going to tell anyone to do what they're going to do with their snakes. But yeah, so I don't have an ultrasound, but I don't think I would, even if I saw a female that small have follicles. I'm not sure if I would. I do have several females from the 2022 season that I hatched and raised, and they're probably all around the 1,000-gram mark right now. And this coming breeding season, I'm not even going to worry about the weight on them because they are old enough. And I'm just going to put males with them, and if they go, they go. If they don't, they don't. And which leads us to our final question here. What have you changed about how you breed ball pythons from year to year, or have you pretty much followed everything? Are there little things maybe you have changed year to year breeding ball pythons?
Yeah, I think so. And then also just to touch on that last one really quick, like I don't have a problem with Miguel pairing snakes that are young. They're either gonna go or they're not gonna go. And when you look at that picture of that snake on eggs, you can't look at that snake and say, oh, she's really dehydrated. She's super, super skinny. I mean, probably underneath, if we looked at her belly, it's probably like really sucked in. But she seems plenty healthy. That snake is like ready to defend her eggs. She's good to go. Like, you know, if that's I do want to hear from him what her laying weight was and what she weighs now. I'm very curious on that. Like were the eggs like 500 or so grams and now she weighs like 1,000 and something? Like, I'd like to know that. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I just won't do it. In the past, like, I've bred geckos that were a tiny bit on the young side, and it just always, within the world of geckos, leads to some sort of compromise in some form. And but she laid 8 eggs. That's freaking crazy. Obviously, she was good to go. So it's very interesting, and hopefully we'll get more info on it later. I don't have a problem with it. I just wanted to make that clear. I just don't think anyone should expect that you start pairing some 1,000-gram wall female that at any age that they're going to be interested, let alone lay a good, healthy clutch for you. That's going to be the exception and not something that happens all the time. Not.
Before we get back to that last question, just Vanna brought this up. She's curious what Miguel fed the snake. Now, I know Miguel shows what he feeds the snakes, and I believe it's mice and rats. Technically, in California, you cannot be feeding ASFs, but I do believe that he does feed rats. To answer that question,
You can locate and legally acquire frozen ASFs
true,
from some sources and have them shipped to California. I don't know what the rules are for all the states that ban ASF product like keeping, but there are frozen routes that you can go to feed ASFs for those that feed frozen dog and are interested in that still. But I think he feeds a lot of rats in general when he's feeding his collection. It's, I think, mostly Norwegian rats.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our final question again: what have you changed about how you breed ball pythons from year to year, whether it's small or big?
I think, like, every year that you keep reptiles and you propagate them, you should like learn something. You're gonna learn something, and sometimes it's not the things that you read in books or that somebody will quickly tell you in advice at a show or a pet shop or whatnot. It's stuff that you'll pick up on just from the experience of feeding and caring and husbandry and herpiculture from breeding stuff and learning about it like that. That's how you level up and you adjust. Like in science, switching to that from biology, like all the time things are theories and hypotheses and aren't like known 100% for sure. And what is a given or what is a known changes from year to year, and that plays a role in reptile keeping, and you just evolve, like always evolving pythons. Miguel does stuff differently than he did when he first got in this hobby. He made a lot of contacts, gained experience from, like they say, shut up and breed, and he was just a sponge and just took right to it, and now he's pairing snakes at 900,000 grams. So, everybody adjusts, and there's certain things that, in a way, like you can't really so much be shown as much or told. You just kind of pick up on from doing it, like it's on the job training. And what would I do different? Like this year or next year, I would say I have a freedom breeder rack for that 12 months, and that's been kind of nice. I would say I probably would continue using forest floor, which some people don't like and think the snakes are more likely to get in their mouth or choke on. I find it lasts longer, doesn't mold as easy. It's still fairly absorbent and is readily available in any major small pet store generally or Amazon. And I think I like Fort Sport a lot, and I think maybe in the future, feeding frozen thawed is something I play with on and off in summer. Maybe next year, the snakes that I have left after I cut things down a little bit will be more primarily like frozen thaw than than live. I kind of would like to do that and to see how that goes. That would be a change. No, that's pretty much it. I guess the other thing I would say is that we're pushing a lot of these females. We got a lot of projects. We have a lot of passion in it. We're in it, and we're gaining experience points. But like, you know, not all reptiles produce offspring in the wild every year. So one thing that a lot of good breeders that I've known over the decades have done is purposely get certain snakes, and you can just write on the tub, hey, no babies this year. And you just pump them up and get them healthier and happier, handle them a little bit, and not just use them as like a breeding machine in the nature. You know, like, especially in the world of boas, it's almost a given that a lot of different types of boas will prefer skipping a year. And a lot of green tree python breeders that are very passionate about their section of the hobby will say that even if they've had clutches in repeat years, they'll say that generally most green tree pythons will skip this year, if not two. So I think there's some females that I'll look at and just be like, no, I'm not gonna dare you. I'm not gonna like push the limit and then be disappointed I didn't get A. I'm gonna push you past the limit and be patient and not worry about getting a project further, quicker. Oh, time is almost fine here. Like, just get your snake really happy and really healthy, and then you got no worries, you got no wondering, you got no questions. Like, you're much more likely to have success if you approach it that way. And I think that that's something that I'll do next breeding season is get some season.
Now, my change from previous years, piggybacking on what Aaron said here, is just trying to save my males more. Like previous years, I would breed in the fall, September, October, I'd start the males, but I noticed that later on in the season, my males would get skinny, they stopped eating. And so this year I wanted to save the males, so I started breeding later. I started breeding in January, and the males, they only needed to lock 3-4 times before getting the female grab it, and in turn save the males. And the females pretty much went the same time of the year. So by doing that, I save my males, and they're not as skinny, and they bred more. So that was my change for the year. And, yeah. Any last thoughts on today's episode?
Last talk on what?
Last thoughts on the episode?
Oh, it's over now? Are we done? How far away?
We're a ways away.
We're a ways away.
We're an hour away.
We're a ways away. Yeah, we're a ways.
And there's so much traffic
There's
that
so much traffic.
I really think I'm doing good by not cursing.
Yeah, we try not to curse when we're around Mark.
Okay.
Just to respect.
Okay. Roger that.
So, yeah, no, I can't wait to watch this Miguel video. I tried to get in touch with him last week, and I wanted to work a deal with him. I wanted to try to get him on the show just briefly, and he didn't text me back. So Miguel, I'm going to stalk you now for the next week, and hopefully we can prepare to have Aaron on in the meantime, and then line up Miguel after that. That would be great. And even though that seems impossible to get a hold of Miguel time, I'm within driving distance to his house, so we'll see. I'll bug him. And I'd love to hear more about this story and his take on it. You know, he's talked to a lot of breeders who have a ton of experience, a lot more than us, and they all know a lot of people that have a lot of experience. And he's learned a lot on the fast track, and I'd love to hear other people's opinions on, you know, what is the smallest female ball python. But yeah, I think that this was a fun on the road show, and as always, we appreciate everything that you poured into it, Mark, and I hope you enjoy your extra day off for the holiday weekend. And me and Noel are going to go to Northern California and possibly tomorrow go to East Bay Vivarium in Berkeley, California, which has always been a fun place to go look at reptiles, because they have most everything.
Well,
And
please take a lot of video, share on Instagram if they allow you.
I will. Yeah, they will. I know the owners, so it'll be fine, and hopefully we will see all you guys next week.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, audience. Appreciate it.
And if you guys have any sports cards that are graded PSA 10 or, you know, anything nice, you can contact Mark. He likes to do a little wheeling and dealing, and he has extra mouths to feed right now. So if you are looking to acquire sports cards, or maybe, you know, some snakes that are reasonable for an exchange for sports cards and memorabilia, feel free to contact Mark or I, and we can share our experience in that hobby with you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Have a good one, y'all.